Okay friends, so what we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna work on creating shapes of different sizes. Now you can either use line paper like I'm using, or you can use blank white paper, and I'm gonna show you both of those options in this video. So to get us started, we wanna get used to drawing shapes of different sizes. So I'm gonna use line paper, and I'm gonna use it this way, because I'm gonna use the lines to help me draw my images better. And now I have a pencil here, and pencils are hard to see on camera. I do want you to draw with a pencil though. Okay, so I'm gonna use a drawing pencil because it's a darker pencil and you can see it a lot better. So I'm gonna use the lines going this way to help me draw my shapes. So I'm gonna start with a square. And I'm gonna draw a small square that fits inside of this area perfectly, or as close as you can. So next I'm gonna double my square by drawing it as big as 2 lines. And then I'm going to draw another square that is as big as 3 lines. I'm gonna do that again. Might make it a little bit closer. As big as 4 lines. So if you have line paper, this exercise works out really, really well. If you don't have line paper, you can do it on blank paper. And so the last one I'm gonna do, and this takes me almost to the edge of my paper. It's not quite perfect, but you know what? That's okay because we're practicing. So that means I have a square that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines long. Now, I'm gonna make some space underneath here. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna draw a circle. Okay, so what I did was make sure that I left a line space in between my squares and my circles. And I'm gonna repeat those steps. Now, circles are hard to draw, so you know, you might have some ovals going on. Okay, so what we're gonna do is in here, we're gonna draw, no, we've drawn some of them. To make sure we remember how many we're doing, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 across the top, so that we remember that we're trying to do that same pattern of increasing our shapes. Now I'm gonna go to the next line, make some space, and I'm gonna draw a triangle. Again, a triangle, and try to make an equilateral triangle, which is they are the same size all the way around. Now that's gonna be kind of tough, and I understand that, so just do your best to try to make it look like it is an equilateral triangle where they're all the same all the way around each side. So triangles are kind of neat because you can kind of tuck their shapes up underneath each other, and we're gonna run out of room, so I'm gonna actually make them connect. Okay. And then, so these are some basic shapes. Now I'm gonna try to do some organic shapes. Organic shapes are hard to draw small to big because they don't have a definitive shape. So let's just start with a simple kind of blobby shape. And I'm gonna make a little blob like that. The next row, I'm gonna make a little blob, and it's, you know, not exactly the same, but the idea is that we're trying to draw shapes larger than what we previously did. And a lot of my friends will draw shapes this big and have a hard time coloring in those shapes because they made their shapes too small. Now, sometimes we make them too big, sometimes we make them too small, and that's not a big deal. So here's some of those organic shapes. Now, another shape that you can do that is an organic shape is a heart. So we draw this. Now, some of my friends like to draw teeny tiny, And I always encourage them to draw bigger because it is easier to draw a bigger shape than it is to draw a smaller one. Now, if you did your fish yesterday, then your fish should have big enough spaces for your 2 fingers apart. And I'm going to show you why that's important in just a minute. Oop, I made a mistake here, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to redraw it. I'm not going to worry about it being perfect because that's not what's important here. So I had a little extra line in there. It's not a big deal. Now what I'm going to do is take my 2 fingers and measure from the biggest one. Now the biggest one for me, this is the same size as my fingers. So if you look at it, they're the same size. That means that those are too big for our shape because if you remember, we trace the outside. So we do this one. Okay, so that one might work, but not for all of my shapes. So my triangle is still too big. So maybe we should do ones that are about our number 3 size because all of the shapes are covered by our finger size. So we don't want to do tiny. So number 1 size shapes, those aren't the shapes we want to do. We want to do number 2 size and number 3 size shapes. Number 4 are probably too big, and so are number 5. Now I like doing this on lined paper because you can control how big your shapes are getting a little bit easier than on lined paper or on blank paper. But I'm going to show you how to do that with just one shape. So what you do is the same thing where you draw a small square, and then every time, remember we're only making 5 of these, you make a bigger square. Now with the lined paper, it is easier. That's more of a rectangle. It is easier to draw a little bit more of what we're looking for to where it's exactly right, but this doesn't matter. All that matters is that you make tiny, you make tiny, small, medium, big, extra large. That's what we're looking for with our drawing today. So make small and you make them bigger as you go. Okay, just do your best on this. If it's not perfect, that's fine. Now you might be asking, Miss Ottenreith, why are we drawing shapes today? The reason we're drawing shapes today is because we need to practice drawing shapes. And when you draw shapes over and over again, it helps you learn how to draw them correctly and how to draw them making very few mistakes. If you notice, I've made 2 mistakes on here, and it's okay that I made those mistakes. I corrected those mistakes as well. So this is a good practice for us to do today before we start drawing our shapes into our fish. And we're going to reference this when we do get to that step. So have fun, be creative, make up your own shapes for sure. Now, if you have shape stencils where they go smaller to big, like in my classroom, I have shape stencils, but unfortunately we don't have them here at home because I don't have enough for everybody to have their own. So just do your best on drawing them. Okay guys, have fun and I'll see you later. Bye.